Greetings and welcome everybody. In this video I wanted to do a small coding challenge or coding exercise, and I wanted to show you how you can do a recursive function which finds the biggest or greatest element within an array of ints in Java. So if you want to solve this for yourself and give it a try, you can pause the video right now and then come back later and continue, and after this I'm going to show you how I would solve this exercise. So we want to solve this challenge in Java. The goal is to find the biggest number within an array of integer numbers, and we want to solve this by using a recursive function. So I already started a new project within IntelliJ, which is a Maven archetype project. And I'm gonna start with creating a new class. Since we are dealing with arrays, I'm just gonna call this class array utils for now. And since we want to have some kind of helper method which finds the maximum value within an array, I'll just make this method static. Since we are dealing with integer values, we are returning int, and I call the function find maximum recursive. As an argument, we are passing an array of integers, which I'll just call values. And so just that it compiles, I'll return -1 for now. So what I would like to do next is to create a test class. You can do this in IntelliJ by right-clicking on the class name, selecting go to, and then test. Select create a new test, and the test will instantly be created. Now, the reason I want to do this is, first of all, I want to provide some checks within this test method in order to check if I have actually solved the coding challenge and the maximum number within this array is returned. And also I want to take care of some corner cases, because some corner cases might occur. As an example, what happens if null is passed as an argument? And I kind of want to deal with this. So for this, I'll create a test class, which I'll then a test method, which I call test null passed as argument. I'll add the test annotation. And now I'll want to make sure that a certain value is returned, and as a default value I want -1 to be returned if we are passing null as an argument here. So let's try this. We can do this in IntelliJ by clicking either on this icon here for run test, or just executing the whole test class as a whole, and the test is successful because we are returning -1 here. A different corner case which we can have a look at is if we have an empty array. So what are we going to return there? So first of all, let me define the function test empty array passed as argument. So what should we return then? Should it also be -1? Or let's return 0 in this case. It doesn't really make a lot of sense, but just so that we have something different here, let's just return 0 in this case. So if I'll enter a where did I make a mistake here? New int 0, of course. So let's check if this test is successful. Actually, I need to add the annotation here, and then I can run the tests. So this isn't successful, mainly because we are returning 0 always. And since we want to deal with null, we have to add both cases here. So let's add the first case, if values is null. I want to return -1. If the array has the length of 0, I want to return 0. Okay, so let's rerun the tests. Okay, so the simplest actual test case besides these corner cases we can test is if we have an array with the length of 1, which would also be a good starting point for a recursive function. So let's test this. Test array has length of 1, single entry is returned. So let's define our value array. Values which has the length of 1. And we just add a random number here, not int, values 0, so the single entry will be 127. And now we want to make sure that this value is returned. So we'll check if this single entry is actually returned if we are calling the function with the values array. So let's run this test. And it will be successful because I forgot the annotation again. Okay, and it fails. So how can we fix this? Well, we'll have to check if the length of the array passed is actually 1, and in that case return this value. Okay. So let's check if this works now. And it does. Okay. So I think we're already pretty close to solving this, because now we basically just need to figure out how we can call the method recursively. So I'll just add another test case, which already will provide a whole array. Test find maximum number. Well, we'll just write a few test cases. Okay, so let's have an array of 3 values, and let's make it so that the largest one is actually in the middle. So the first one should be 2, second one should be the largest one, so let's just make it, whoops, let's just make it something like 50. And the last one should be smaller again. Let's use 7. Okay. And now I would expect that our largest number, being 50, is returned here. Add test annotation again and run the tests. And, well, it's not the case, but not really surprising. So, now we want to use recursion. So what we want to do is that we return the maximum of somehow a recursive call to this method here, and one value of our current array. So what I want to do now is that I define a new array, which I just call recursive values. And this should be one element shorter than our current values. So it should have the length of values length minus 1. So this will be the values we will be passing. And now we need to fill it with the current values minus the last element. We can do this by using system array copy. So our source is the values. We'll start from the start. We want to enter this into the recursive values, and the length should be the length of our recursive values array. So now we have copied the values within our values array into the array recursive values minus the last entry. So what we can do now is that the maximum for basically we can just now return the maximum between the recursive call to our recursive values and the value at the very end of the array. So this would be values length minus 1. Oh, this is wrong, so I need to put this here, and values length. I mixed it up. So we want to call this here, so make a recursive call to our method, and here we want to have the at length minus 1. So this is our recursive call. Basically the idea is that we found our terminating condition, which is when the values reach a length of 1, because then the maximum is just the element itself. And for every other case, we extract the last element within the array, create a new array for this, and then we make a recursive call to the function and find the maximum number for this recursive or for this smaller array, and then determine the maximum between the last entry within the array and the result from this recursive call. So I'm hoping that that is mostly clear. So let's just check if we actually are getting the correct result, and yes, we are. So now 50 is returned here, and let's just add maybe 2 more tests to this, so just to be sure that this is actually working. So let's have a size of 5 here and maybe a length of 6 here. So we'll add additional numbers here. So let's check which the result is if I enter 100. So the result here should be 100, because this is the largest number. And for this test here, we'll just add the largest number at the end. What could we use? 10, and the largest number being maybe 75. So the largest amount here should be 75. And then let's run the test and see if we're correct, and all the tests evaluate to being correct. So I think we've done it. So we've created a recursive function which finds the largest amount or the largest number within an array of integers. I hope you enjoyed this small coding challenge, or rather exercise video, and that it was helpful in some way. And if you have any additional questions or anything like this, please feel free to leave a comment. Until then, keep coding.